Martin, where you at? Come on,
Hey,
man.
what's up, buddy?
Robert,
What?
we're about to start, man. We're about to start.
Oh,
Hey,
we're doing
come
this
here,
today?
man.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
wake up, man. Let's start, man. It's Wednesday, man.
Welcome,
You know what that means?
welcome,
More stupid stuff.
Why is there
welcome.
a weird Mexican man at my door?
Oh, you got my message. You got my package. Well, welcome to the podcast. It is Coronavirus Week 8, and we are still doing this via the internet. I can now see my buddy Robert Tucci and my buddy Elias Medina over the interweb, and they're looking sexy as hell.
Mm.
Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be talking about our experiences in life and hopefully bring you some positive perspective despite of everything what's happening. I'd like to thank our sponsors, guys, Alpaca, Nation Homes, and Blue Betsy Boutique on eBay. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast. And I'd like to thank those guys who are listening and they're like our fans. That's what I want to refer to them as, the number one listeners and fans. Evan, Bruce, and Corey, thank you guys for listening. On that note, let's get this shit started. So what's good, guys?
What's up,
You,
man?
you, another day in paradise. Um, Elias looks like a freaking recording artist, and Tucci's looking clean and sexy as hell. And I'm over here like just looking raggedy as fuck because I didn't feel like putting gel on anymore. Like I don't take care of myself anymore. I don't go anywhere.
Elias, you look like a virtuoso now. You just look like you're so like professional. Like it's just like art. Like Martine said, artist before. It's
Yeah,
great.
you look like you just got done painting like the Mona Lisa after you ran 50 miles and smoked 3 cigars.
Definitely, that's exactly what I did, man. Right?
It's like
But
it's
it
like
wasn't.
if
It,
Pablo.
it wasn't a Mona Lisa. It was just a plain wall, man. It was white.
It's like if Pablo Picasso and Steve Jobs have a child. That it would be you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Pablo Steve Jasso.
I guess that means I look
Are
good.
you girl? You have a men bun? I like it, dude.
Yeah,
You've
you
been
like it?
working on that bad boy. Look at that. Oh shit,
Man, it was
you're
so
out
hard to get
officially a
there.
hipster.
It was so hard to get there. You know when you like growing up your hair and then you got these sides that you don't know what to do with them. It's like I can't wait. I can't wait to get them in a ponytail so that everything stays in one place.
Yeah, you gotta make it through the awkward stage and dedicate to it.
Yeah,
There's nothing.
that was some that was
I've never been
horrible,
able to
man.
do it.
That was horrible,
See, my
man.
hair grows thick before it grows long. But you know what? We have to be thankful, Elias, regardless of what the hair looks like, the fact that we have hair. That's number one, most important thing.
You know
Um,
what? This is a choice, man. Okay, this is absolutely a fucking choice. So fuck you. All right.
no, you look
No,
good, man.
I
You
think
look clean.
I make the decision of leaving my hair long in a good time because like like after like how long the barbershop's been closed for? Like a month and a half they've been closed.
Hmm.
Barbershop.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I've been having my hair like this for a couple months back. So it's been like 7, 8 months probably they haven't cut my hair. So I was
yeah,
like,
dude.
I don't care if they close or not, you know. Chuchu, do you get your like do you go and do that at the you don't do at the barbershop, you take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, at this point, you're either cutting your own hair or you're just not giving a fuck anymore.
Clearly.
I've actually had my wife cut my own hair, and I'm supposed to be dyeing her hair next week. So that's gonna be interesting.
What's she dyeing it?
What? Why?
Yeah. What? No.
Girls
What?
dye?
What color?
Oh, I guess like the normal color, like whatever she always
Oh,
does. I
that's
don't know.
that's not her natural hair color. I didn't know that.
Well, a lot of women, a lot of girls do that, even if it looks natural.
Man,
They
talking
cut.
about that, man, I was so bored of that my beard, man.
You dye your beard?
Yeah, pitch black, like super. No, it's just that I have a bunch of white hairs on my beard, man. I was like, let me try this out. And you supposed
Dude,
to
I have
do?
matte white hair.
Do you ever dye your beard or anything like that? Nothing. It was my first time doing it
No.
too. So it's the same thing as you dye somebody's hair. And well, I didn't know. Like I forgot about doing a process. It's like you put like something like a wax on your skin so it doesn't stain your skin. You know what I'm saying? So before you start waxing, you're supposed to before you start diving your beard or whatever, you gotta put a wax on your skin so the color doesn't penetrate your skin. It stays there. So I forgot to put that wax there, so it was so hard to remove, man. It was so hard to remove.
So it dyed your face black.
Not my whole face, but this line, right, like the line on my face, close to my beard, it was like all black. Therefore, it was like that for a couple of days, man. And I
It's
was
good
like,
you work on roofs a lot so you can sweat that shit off, you know?
yeah, I could. You can. Like, I figured out too late. You're supposed to leave it like for 5 minutes so it grabs. And I did the whole process, but I was then I started reading. I was like, shit, I forgot to. I skipped the one of the most important, I guess. Uh,
Wait, so you were reading the instructions after you did it
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what most
when it
of the
was
people do.
burning,
No,
when
no,
it was
when it
burning
was
and hurting. You're
when I
like,
I
let me
was
read
like,
my instruction.
leave it there for 5 minutes. Okay, so I read. Okay, 5 minutes. Make this two mix it together. 5 minutes. I was like, okay, that's all I got to do. 5 minutes, boom, boom. Waited, and then I was like, why is this shit? It's not coming out. And then I started reading. I was like, oh shit, you're supposed to put like a wax or Vaseline or something there, so it wouldn't like stain my
Did you,
skin.
hey, did you do this all by yourself at your house?
Yeah, yeah, it was on myself. If I would have a
That,
girl, she would have probably told me because they're so used to doing it. And you probably got to do it
yeah.
to. You talking about doing to Stacy? You
Well,
probably
now I
gotta
know. Not to,
you gotta put like a wax on her skin so you don't tint her skin or dye her
I
skin.
absolutely 100%. I'm gonna fuck up her hair. I think this is a horrible idea. Her hair is gonna be like red or something. There's just no way that this is gonna go well. I don't know. You know how much they charge to do this?
Yeah, like
They charge like
160.
two hundred
Yeah.
dollars, dude.
Wow.
So this tells me two things. Like, and that's on the low end, dude. $200 is the cheap shit. Like if you go to like Great Clips to get it done. If you go to like a nice hair salon, you're looking like at 300, $400 or something crazy, dude.
Wow.
So either two things, like the materials they're using are like next level shit, or there's some skill associated with this, some
So wait,
craft.
how long does a dye last? I can't
A
imagine.
couple of months. It's like
Yeah.
3 months, 4 months. Oh
Well,
yeah, dude,
I guess it
you have
depends.
no idea how much your hair is.
Let's say if you got black hair and then you dye blonde, then as soon as it starts growing, it starts growing in a month. It's already grow at least like half an inch. So you got blonde and then you got black coming out on the
Yeah,
like
black roots.
yeah.
But I think, yeah, I guess it depends on that. Like if you dye your hair close to what you normally have hair, then it's fine. But then you'll start seeing white hairs if they come back up.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Talking about white hairs, like I don't know if they. Sometimes I'm like, shit, I have a bunch of white hair. I don't know if they grow white or they transform into white already. Like into white hairs. Is it you have one hair and it transforms to a white hair, or it just grows white?
I think they grow out white, bro, because mine come out white from the very beginning. Like in my beard, like look, they're white already. See that?
Okay, okay.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is like these people that do this for a living either are taking us for a s- for they're taking us for a ride, or there's something to it. So we'll see.
Just remember to wear gloves, man.
Why my hands can get dyed.
Well, it's I
Hmm.
think sometimes like where you feel comfortable. If you go to expensive salon, like I don't know, and then you go to a place in
You feel
downtown.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, it feels kind of cool. Then you have a guy that I don't know graduated
Bro,
somewhere
if
in
you look
in
like you could be the guy that does hair, and I would like trust it
yeah.
right now. Like if I walked in and you were the stylist, I'd be like, dude, and then you'd be like, I have been doing hair for years, in France. I'd be like, yeah, this dude knows what the fuck he's doing. Go ahead
Yeah.
and dye my hair, please. Make me look like Justin Bieber, please. You give me frosted flakes, please, the frosted tips. Remember when that was the shit, dude? Like the frosted points, the tips. Even the soccer players, Messi had the frosted flick, or like this
Wait,
guy, his name was
wait.
Martin
I thought we were
from the.
talking about hair.
Yeah, you never heard of the frosted flicks, frosted tips?
I'm messing with you, dude.
You know what I'm talking about,
Hmm.
Elias? You remember that shit from the soccer players?
No.
Do you remember there was a guy in the Argentina team? His name was Martin, and he had like yellow hair and shit. Like they would just
Yeah,
make the
okay, okay,
tips.
okay, okay. I remember.
That's what that was the
That
shit, dude.
happened
I
here
never.
too. I
And
thought it only happened in Argentina, but it was happening here too.
no, it was happening here, dude. People were having things. Tucci had him in high school, right?
What, the frost of the ends? Nah. Dude, my hair is
Come on,
curly as hell, man. I can't be doing shit like that.
don't lie, bro. You had the what was your style in high school?
Full on afro.
Oh yeah,
Man,
Yeah.
remember
I
me
thought.
going to John's house with an afro and a BB gun? The parents coming over the
Oh
restaurant.
my god, dude. That was crazy, dude. Like this guy, we went through the stage where we were like shooting things with BB guns in high school. Like we thought it was fun to like break bottles and stuff. And Elias had this BB gun that was like with gas, and it fucking looked like a real gun. I mean, it looked like a real gun. It looked very much. I mean, I don't know, but it looked just like a fucking real gun. And he went to John's house and put in like he got out the car and put it in his back and went and knocked on the door and nobody opened and he left.
No, I went
And
to
I
the
guess the
back door. I
neighbors
went to the back door. I'm like, hey,
oh,
John, get out of there.
he kept on knocking, and then so he got out of the car, put the gun in the back,
Like a
like
real
stuck it
gangster.
like, yeah,
Wow.
and then knocked on the door. What were you gonna do? Were you gonna like mess with him, or you just
No,
had it
I
because?
just went to see. I just went to pick him out just to go. I don't know, do something.
And yeah, and a neighbor saw that, and we were all working out San Carlos lady, including Elias. That same day, we were at the restaurant, and and John's parents show up, and they're like, "Somebody's looking for you. He wants the neighbor told me somebody's looking for you to kill you. Somebody sent a hitman to get you." And they're freaking out. And John was like at the front of the restaurant, like, "What?" And I was like, "What?" And then Elias is like, "Yeah, that was me." And it was just like awkward as fuck.
Man,
I
her
was like,
mom, her,
I was looking for, I was
I
a BB
remember
gun.
her mom showing up crying, man. Like she was so worried, crying because they were saying a black man with an afro, man. Because I used to have like an afro, like you know, remember? I
They
used to
said
have
a
like
black man. Yeah, they said it was a
wow.
black man.
It was a black man with an afro. It was a guy with an afro, like
Oh
because
my
I had my,
god.
I was like, it was like a bandana, like
Yeah,
that,
you
and
have pretty
then
curly hair, and if you grow it, it like it can float around like an afro. But
yeah, yeah.
that's funny that somebody said it was a black man. I didn't remember that
All
part.
that racial bias, implicit
Because
bias
for
going on.
those listeners, I mean, Elias is not black or it doesn't look black at all. That's so funny that like a neighbor like in a panic would say
Yeah. He was a black
there's a
man.
black man.
Just because
'Cause
they probably saw
that's
the
fucked
afro, you
up.
know.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
The
that's
world we
crazy
live
how
in, man.
the sometimes you want to make something sound more realistic or more I don't know, more real or more scary or more yeah, definitely if it's a black man it's going to sound more realistic, right? That's not
Well, and
funny.
that's what they say that like having witnesses, eyewitnesses is like one of the most unreliable thing ever because you see things in the moment that are not real,
Yeah,
like
like
based
when you
on that,
go fishing
like like
and you
like
fish
police
something.
sketch. Yeah, exactly. I mean, did you know anything of this in your law training of like people that like do sketch artists and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Like that is
Oh
so
yeah.
unreliable because it's absolute bullshit. People get scared and then just and you can implant information on people easily. Like, was he black? Was he black? And then they'll be like, yeah, 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 he was. Like, and then they think they honestly think it's true, but it's very unreliable, right?
Right. Yeah, and this also like you have the lie detector tests that everyone thinks that they're so indicative of like people telling the truth and all that, but in reality, they're fucking worthless, man.
Oh, really? The lie
Just
detector had bullshit too?
completely worthless. Yep.
Really? So what is it doing?
hmm
Do you know?
I mean, I don't know what the pseudoscience is behind it, but it's supposed to like track vibrations in your hand as you're talking and whatnot. But it's so easy to game those tests,
Yeah.
and also not everyone reacts the same way to lying, right? Physiologically, not everyone reacts the same way. So those tests are designed to pick up specific vibrations in your hand, and it doesn't work out for everyone. So and at the same time you can have someone who might give off those vibrations if if they're telling the truth, you know. So it might be a false positive for lying. So it's yeah, there's a whole lot of problems with lie detectors. Even even people who voluntarily give them. I mean, I would say definitely don't go with that. But
So
yeah,
what you're saying is you have the choice to just be like, fuck it, I don't want to do this.
Oh, but let's say if you get to okay, lie detector, those things. When you go to court, are they valid or not valid? Like if you're like, okay, my client submitted to a lie detector and it didn't fail, it went through like good. Is that valid or that's they don't even
well,
consider that?
it depends on the jurisdiction. I mean, evidence is evidence, right? So most of the time it can get in, but it's not going to be determinative or it's not going to be like a smoking gun type thing. So, but yeah, typically, I mean, if the defense counsel's doing his job or her job, then they can most likely get it excluded. If the circumstances are right. So it just depends on the like where you're at in court, though.
Hmm.
That's
Well, you
man.
know what?
I don't know if you saw the episode of Black Mirror where each character had like a video on their eyes, and you can play it on TV, and you can like, hey,
Oh
look,
yeah,
this is how my meeting went, and they can show how the meeting went
yeah,
and
that was
things like that.
fucking nuts, dude.
So imagine if
We're gonna
if
get
that
to
can
that point.
actually that happens.
Did you guys see there was a podcast with Elon Musk on Joe Rogan? Did you see that one, Elias?
I
I
don't
saw
watch Joe
an old
Rogan.
one, an old one.
No, there's a new one, and I mean, I only watched the very beginning. I haven't had time to watch it, but they were talking about this new company that he has, and they are going to start implanting um, shit in your brain to help, right? So, like, the idea is they're gonna cut a piece of your skull out and stick like a microchip in there that is gonna send electrical impulses on your brain to enhance the brain, and it's
I
primarily gonna
think
be.
I was reading like an article about something like that, but it stimulates your brain, I think, and it records everything. I don't know. So it's
No, but
kind
so
of
the original thing what he was saying is it's gonna start with just helping people that need, like, for example, if you can't hear or you can't see or if you've had a stroke and you can't really move, like, it's supposed to help with that. But like the long term evolution of this technology could go into like helping you remember things or think faster or even enhance like some of the physical abilities, like kind of like cyborgs, like what you see in movies. Like, it's not that far fetched if it starts becoming a thing. But obviously, right now it's in its infancy. They're just doing like very little, very little with it. Like he said that within the next couple of years they might implant on an actual human being, but
what
somebody
they
that
implemented
volunteers
right
and they
now.
have a disease.
Would
They
you
have it's called.
volunteer for that?
Mm-mm.
Hell
I
no.
would. But I tell you who when I would if I had a stroke, knock on wood, and I was, like bound to like not being able to move or something like that, or if I was like if I had Lou Gehrig's disease or something crazy like that, I'll be like, fuck it, yeah, do it, see what happens, you know. Like at that point, I mean, obviously, for it to even be approved, you think that there's some science behind it, like, okay, like we're going to be stimulating the part of the brain that deals with motor function, and this is what we think is going to happen. We've tested on animals, whatever. I don't know. I mean, you'd think that they'd do that, right? At that point, if I'm like bound to a wheelchair and I'm like not even able to move or some shit like that, and they're like, yeah, you want to try it, I'll be like, fuck yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I
I
just that
mean,
this
wouldn't
is
you?
we just that it's too new right now. I guess it will be too new. So I'm pretty sure that will be allowed for, I guess, for the people that have the most money. Like I'm pretty sure that will be like, oh, that's a you have like $1 million on your freaking head, like something like that. That would be super expensive for, like you say, a stroke. Like let's say if you had a stroke and I don't know, half of your face, falls asleep or something like that, and then you can put
That's what he
a
was talking
chip.
about.
Then you can put like a chip on your head and can stimulate your brain to move that side of the face. I think that would be super expensive, man. I don't know if
Well,
many
but
people.
but but
I
right
don't think
now,
so many
right
people
now,
would afford that right now.
no, but that's not the point because right now, like, getting your knee surgery is super fucking expensive. and you do it all through insurance. If you go get knee surgery, you're talking about like $50,000 on the low end. Like
Imagine
all of
putting
this shit
something
is
on your
expensive
brain.
already. I think it's doable. It's just gonna be all done through insurance. But I think that in the future, once it moves from medical to like um, consumer part, then it's gonna be kind of weird. Like choosing to get a fucking hole in your head and like I want to be able to download a language, right? He's talking about like communication. If both of us have this chip, he's talking about like a computer can process information like way faster than we can, right? Like 1,000 times faster than we can. If we both have this chip and we're communicating to each other, he talks about communicating a complex idea is so difficult, right? Like, it's really hard to put a complex idea into words and then expect you to understand those words the way that I meant you to understand those words. And then you're going to have a different version of that complex idea based on your assimilation of my language, right? Whether I use the proper terms, whether the right emphasis and all that stuff, right? If you have a microchip in your head and we both have it, then you can communicate without even talking to each other. And he was talking about like having a world where like language we're gonna still do it, but we're gonna talk to each other for sentimental reasons, but like there's not gonna be even a need to talk to each other.
Yeah, I don't
Isn't that
know,
crazy?
man. I don't know if I trust someone who builds electric cars like Elon Musk. I don't know if I trust this guy to install a
You
microchip
don't you
in
don't
my
like
brain.
him, do you?
No, I have no problems with Elon Musk. I just think he's a lot of talk.
You think it's bullshit?
I think he frequently, like, I appreciate his expression of ideas, right? And
Uh-huh.
like the marketplace of ideas that he engages in. But at the same time, I think he presents himself as more of an expert on things than he actually is. Um, like he can hire a lot of people to, build a spaceship and go to Mars and type thing. But I don't know if he's actually qualified to speak on these matters.
Right. There was a guy on another podcast talking about cars specifically who said that he was the biggest bullshitter ever, basically, with that Cybertruck he brought up.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? He said, "Well, here's what he's done. He's presented a concept that is not anywhere being developed or is even close to being developed, and so basically what he did is he said, here's a truck that I think is really cool, and here's some of the things that we think we can make that are going to be really exciting, right?" And then he presented it. What this guy was an expert on cars or whatever. I don't even remember the guy's name. But there's no actual like plan to do this. But by selling this idea, he did it like he would do on a tech company. He says like he presented an idea like a tech company would do, or like a piece of software. Then got everybody excited. But instead of going through the proper ways of investors, he got the consumers to get excited about the truck, and people are putting $1,000 in on this truck.
So it's like
Or
crowdsourcing or
right, but
crowdfunding.
he
Yeah.
but he's not doing it as a found me. He's doing it like this. He's selling what he was criticizing. It was like here's the finished product. But in reality, what this guy is saying, like, there is no finished product. That truck is not finished. It's just a concept. It's an idea. They can probably make it happen. They really haven't made it happen. He says when that truck comes out, it's going to look entirely different. But he
Well,
did. But he got everybody hyped up, and a lot of people put money into it, and they're going to be able to fund that truck based on that money that people are doing. The pre-order in the truck doesn't really exist. Is what they were saying. But if you
yeah.
think about it, it's pretty genius to do it
Is
that
that
way.
is that genius or is it? I mean, I think that's more sociopathic than anything, right? Because you're
I
playing on.
feel like I feel like there's something you really don't like about this guy, and I feel like it's political. Am I like? Did he do something that you disagree with politically?
Why do
Tell
you
me,
think
tell me. I
everything
don't know,
ties
cause
back to
I
politics? I don't even know Elon Musk's politics, but I'm pretty sure he's liberal. I mean, I don't know. He's in tech, right?
I think he criticized some of the. I mean, I think he was for Bernie or some shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with Elon Musk's politics. I just have a problem with him scamming people.
No,
You
I
know,
think he
like,
is like he's kind of a visionary guy, but and he has this fears, right? Like he's convinced that we're heading towards a like humanity is gonna be destroyed by AI or environmental issues to the point that he's already given up. Like he's already seen like this is gonna happen. Like we're gonna be killed by computers or we're gonna be killed by the environment. So I might as well just
Well, the other
start thinking
thing.
about moving to another planet.
So okay, so this is one of the things that I believe. Like, imagine you have to advertise something, and every time this guy talks, everybody kind of listens. Just why? Two reasons: because he has a lot of money. He's like the head of these like three companies: SpaceX and Tesla and Shingles. For I think something like that, right? They do Shingles, el panos, something like that.
Solar panel,
Electric
yeah,
solar
solar
panels
panel. Yep.
and the shingle. Yeah, so he's like a very good businessman on those three companies, right? So everything that he deals with is ag you say,
AI,
artificial
like
AI. Okay,
art.
AI. And so when he talks and when he speaks something, he have to push you to saying like, this is a new thing, this is what's coming up, you need to adapt to this because this is what probably my company is bringing in. So imagine he says like, oh yeah, going to Mars and living there, that's going to take like at least 100 years or 50 more years of of technology. Of course he's going to tell you, oh, in the next 5 years we might be able to travel there and do something. Oh, 5 years doesn't seem so far away. um or when they do this, I don't know, chips for your head, I think, and it's going to make you talk from one person to another person without you even have to speak, and you have to understand. Okay, I think you're looking at a couple decades there of of technology that we have to go through. We're still using a laptop, we're still using a computer. It's not like we're using a chip and it opens up like an image and we can just play with that image like on the air. I think that would be way cooler right now than having an actually monitor in front of my face.
Well,
uh
that's what. So he makes that point, right?
so
He
I
makes
still
that point. He
look.
says
Look
that.
at this. I still have a keyboard on my table. A keyboard, man. And I'm pretty sure in 20 years from now, we're just getting rid of the keyboards and we can just type on the table like it's nothing. But I think that's already out there. It's like a little image that projects to your table, and you kind of click on the letters without even having a keyboard. It's just a little thing that pops up. So imagine we even have to be able to get that technology are in our hands. So imagine putting a chip that we don't even have to talk to someone else. I think that's going to take a couple decades right there.
No, but here's one of the points, right? Like think about your phone, right? Your phone, it's already an extension to your body, right? What you do, the way you're connecting the cell phone onto your body is by looking at it, right? So you have your eyes and you look at the phone, and through your eyes you absorb the information in this device, right? So that's one method, but this is already sort of like make us cyborgs, right? Like we don't need to know directions because we have a map here. We don't need to know mathematics because we have a calculator here. We have an encyclopedia here. We have a lot of different things here that is basically like an extension of your brain. Is just accessed by looking at it, right? What this guy's proposing is that eventually the interaction between you and the phone is not going to happen visually, but it's going to happen by electrical impulses directly into your brain. That's the idea behind it, right? So it's not that. So we're already there to a point. We already have this like cyber interaction with computers, right? Like think about a time in which you had to know how to spell a lot better, right? You had to know how to do. Now you don't. You just kind of look it up and it's there, and it just there's autocorrect. There's all these things that do it for you. And that's just kind of what he's saying is like we're going to continue to get enhanced by technology, but he's having the vision of saying that it's going to happen
I
in
think
a
he
more
watched.
direct way
He
with your
probably
brain.
he probably saw the movie Matrix like 20 times.
Yeah. He smoked the blunt and then saw the and
and
watched
he,
the Matrix, and then it thought it came
and
out with it.
he was smoking weed, watching magics all over and all over again. He was like, I can learn jiu-jitsu in 5 seconds. Sure, yeah, just put it on my brain, and I gotta know how to move my body. I gotta know how to talk. I gotta learn Chinese, Japanese. I gotta learn all these languages, but just you putting something on my brain. I think before
Well,
that
think about
happens,
it.
we're
Wait,
gonna go through World War III, World War IV, World War V. A bunch of people's gonna die. Everything's gonna start again, and people's gonna find towers and things like a new generation. No, a whole
nah, dude,
new.
think about it. Okay, you just said it. Like, oh, in the Matrix, they download a language and you immediately know Chinese, right?
It's a
You have Google
movie.
Trans.
It's a
No,
freaking
okay,
movie.
so no, but watch. So now, do you not have Google Translate on your phone?
Yeah.
And think about how much it's gotten better. So like, technically, if you see a Chinese person and you want to talk to them, you can pull your phone and you could say, "Hey, speak into this," and you can look and you can somewhat communicate. Now, it is very primitive; it's not very good, but it's gotten so much better. So it's not
Well, and
completely
okay.
unreasonable.
All right, that's a whole lot different than being able to download the entire language into your brain, right?
Well, the only difference is okay. So the entire language is here in my phone, and I have to communicate with my phone, right? If the entire language it's in that device, but there's just how the device communicates with your biological being, right? That's the idea. So now instead of communicating by touch and eyesight, the same idea would happen, but you're communicating directly with brainwaves. So the only thing that is changing, if you think about it, is the way that you communicate with your phone,
Yeah.
right?
I don't
The,
saying I'm not
That's what.
uh,
saying I'm not saying it's impossible, like, oh my god, but I don't think it's gonna be on our lifetime, you know. We're talking
Well, that's
we're
that's
looking
that's
we're
what
looking
this.
for like in a couple, I don't know, maybe in the next 50 years. And we have to see
Maybe I don't know.
how we develop all this technology. I still with the iPhone 11, man, and it sucks sometimes, man.
I'm saying like yeah, the first. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I think the idea is not completely ridiculous, and I think it's going to be primarily if we figure out a way to communicate with the brain and enhance part of the brains in that way. If there is such thing, it's going to be used medically first, because that's the only people that are going to have the balls or the care or they're going to be crazy enough to try it, right? Like if you can't move from a chair and somebody tells you, hey, you put this in your brain and there's a small chance you can move a finger, they'll be like, fuck it, do it. I think
Man,
that's what's going to start.
this is the other thing. It's like, you know how many wheelchair companies are out there. The same way with gas, the same way with gas. Like, you know how many cars, how many different type of engines they already have developed already that we know that we can ride without using gas, and we still not using those because of the type of the whole system is like, oh, this is going to bring, a bunch of people's going to lose their job, companies are going to be closing down. So because of that, we're not going to put this on the market. The same way it's going to happen with this. It's like how many books are going to be thrown away, how many, okay, so school is going to close down because you can just put a chip on your brain, you can just learn. So no more schools.
yeah,
No
that's a
more,
good point. I mean,
no more teachers. We don't need teachers anymore. Just put a freaking chip of any language on my brain. No more school. So in order for all that stuff to cancel, it's gonna take a whole new world, bro. It's gonna be a total different world right now.
yeah, and it's just hard to comprehend, right? Like, if society is going to change that drastically, that's not going to happen over the course of 10 years. I mean, that's going to happen over the course of hundreds of years. It has to, because it's
Bro.
too drastic of a change. It's too abrupt of a change.
Yeah,
And I mean,
and
if you're talking about getting rid of schools, if you're talking about even getting rid of work, right? Because just imagine this, right? If we have the capacity to inject that knowledge in our brain, we at the same time don't need to go to work for a lot of things, right? We don't need a physical human standing there selling you a cell phone, selling you a car, anything like that. You could just have a computer, a robot do that, or someone communicating directly to your brain, right? Like a artificial intelligence. And so, but even like for traditional services, like even lawyers, like right, think about lawyers. Like all we do is write every day, And if you have the capacity to have artificial intelligence like that, they can do what I'm doing every single day. So that's going to be a radical transformation of not just society but the economy.
But okay, so I get where you're coming from, and that's what the whole Andrew Yang thing was, right? You realize that, right? And the idea of stopping progress just so that we can continue the current idea of economy makes no sense to me,
No, no, no.
especially with
I'm
when
not
you're
saying stop it.
describing
No, no, no. I'm
what
not
you.
saying stop it. I'm saying there's no way that okay, one, there's no way that level of change is going to happen overnight, right? It's going to take a long time. Two, there's no way that the interests, the stakeholders, currently as they stand, are going
Are
to
gonna allow it.
allow,
I
yeah, are
think
going.
I think the second one is more realistic for me. But when the stakeholders look at that as a saving money tool, then they will allow it. And I can bring up the self-driving trucks because that's gonna be the thing, right? So like, yeah, oh, what's gonna happen to all these teachers? Oh yeah, what's gonna happen to? Yeah, they're not gonna give a fuck because the whole system is based on how do we make more money. So whenever it's like, hey, we don't have to pay this guy $80,000 a year, we invest on this $2 million truck once, and it drives itself. And that's the whole idea. What's what's really hard for me to express that makes the most sense is, but it goes against everything we're being taught, is the idea of like, what if no one has to fucking work anymore? How awesome would that be? You just focus, you dedicate your life to what you need to do, but the resources are still there, and the products are still being produced, and you just don't fucking have to work anymore. You don't have to do that. Just like at one point, you had to, you had to cut a tree with an axe, and it would take days, and then all of a sudden they figure out a chainsaw, and then you cut it in an hour,
Right, but does that
and it.
make any sense to you? I mean, because think about it, there's a certain level of mental decay when that happens. Because if you're not doing anything,
Yeah,
if
but
you're
like
not,
what
if
I in my utopia, in my utopic idea, you would not have to work, but you would dedicate your life to ideas and interests, and you'll still be very active, and you still have fulfilling ways. Like you wouldn't just be. I mean, there will be people that in this idea would just sit at home and do nothing, and they would have very unfulfilled lives. But I think for a good amount of humans, we would just find passion in other ways, like whether it's like biking or creativity or do things that you love to do. Do you really want to sit in an office from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, or I'm sorry, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day until you're fucking 65, and that's the way that you celebrate your life, and that's the one that you found a purpose?
well,
When you could
no,
have a robot doing that, a
well,
robot can
well,
do it.
well, well, no, but I mean that what you're saying is kind of a logical fallacy, right? Because there's not everyone's doing an 8 to 5 job, and if they are, not all of those jobs are that menial, that unimportant, right? So think about it though. If we completely replace the workforce, who's going to be manning these science jobs, these science fields, right?
Well,
That are
that would be the thing. Like people would be focused on that rather than like the menial. I think that a vast majority of the I don't know, I don't know
well,
off the top of my head, but a vast majority of the
but think about it, right? And I get what you're saying, but really, I want you to think about it because if that's the choice that you have, right? If what you're saying is, well, yeah, people could just do those science jobs, and those will be the only jobs out there. Who will actually do that as opposed to just being able to do nothing at all?
I think you would be surprised. Think about I propose this idea. Think about how many people out there have the innate talent to discover
Well,
scientific
and so
this
my point is that there
well,
would is not
that,
that
that
there
it wouldn't
wouldn't be.
happen. But see that goes back to the idea that we're all lazy,
No,
and if we're
no, no,
given
no,
things that we
no, no,
don't do
no, no,
nothing.
no, no. That's not my point. My point is that there won't be no one that does it. My point is that the people that go into those jobs, the people that will actually do it, are not the types of people you want to do them because those are the people that want to influence things, that want to have the power, that want to be able to manipulate people, right? So because they're the ones that are most driven to do it.
So you're saying creative types and benevolent types are not driven to discover things unless we have the current system. You sound insane to me.
Do I?
I think that if we didn't have to worry about food or rent or anything, if we just
Well, okay, but
focus our lives, let me finish.
yeah, good.
If we focus our lives on what we really truly want to, we would have so many people right now that are doing menial jobs to survive that actually had the talent and creativity to come up with different ideas, being able to produce those ideas. And right now we are just stuck on the grind because this corporations and this current setup, that's the way to do it. That's the only way you're worth is if you are part of this machine, and that's the way it should always be, to the point that we're brainwashed of thinking like if a machine can do this job, then we would be meaningless. That is the next level brainwash when you think that. Like, oh, my, that's like almost like a slave mentality. Oh, I couldn't do anything if I wasn't doing this. If a machine could do my job, if we could figure this out, then we would be in big trouble because then I wouldn't have a purpose, right? I wouldn't have a purpose, and then I would be useless, and I wouldn't have anything to do. There will be people that I would just sit at home, probably the first generation after what we come out of this, right? When we were used to this, there will be a lot of people that abuse it and just fucking. But eventually, I think that if this was the new reality and we didn't have to worry about menial jobs because they were just happening automatically, I think that it would be like an explosion of ideas and people would be so much happier. And but I don't know. I guess either way. But I refuse to believe that people would just sit at home and just fucking do nothing.
No, I'm
Like the
not saying
motivation.
I am not saying that. So I mean, but the future you're painting is one where people can just inject themselves with knowledge and entertain themselves that way. So that's the future that I'm seeing, right? Where you're not just sitting at home doing nothing. You're actually engaging with all the current knowledge that's out there just by osmosis. But also, uh, but think about it. I mean, so that so let's say that there is a certain subset of jobs that are available, right? And like we need people to fill those jobs. I mean, in the United States, at least, it's either going to be the elites that are exclusively manning those jobs because they have priority over them, or two, it's going to be the most driven, the most the ones that are most inclined to seek those positions out first. And to me, if that's the case, if it's the second scenario and it's not based on the elites, which that's a whole nother discussion, then it's going to be the ones that are more driven to inject their own will, to force their own will on the product, the work, the on the results. So
Yeah, but
I think
yeah, you're still looking at this with the assumption that there is a value on a job, right? That there is a job, and because these jobs are so scarce, the few jobs available would get you more life, or like it would give you more resources, or you would be an elite or whatever. But in this idea that I have, like if everything's getting done by machines and everything's just happening, then the resources are available to everyone. It would be a bit of a communist idea. I agree. I would be guilty of that. The idea
from
of like there wouldn't be an incentive for you to have a job. That's the incentive would be for you to fulfill yourself, to create an idea, to work. Like I'm passionate about working on a vaccine. I'm passionate about science. I want to get into figuring this out rather than. And also think about it. The some of the problems right now is that someone that has low resources does not have the means to acquire knowledge to the same level that someone that's rich, right? But if we're leveling the playing field and everybody has the instant access to knowledge at the same level, like we're talking about an entirely different idea. I'm thinking,
yeah,
I just
but
find it
see,
interesting how we reject it. Like it's almost as if we're so programmed that the only way that we are fulfilling this world is if we work really hard, and and we are part of the machine, that anything outside of it is almost really hard to digest.
Man,
no,
so
I think you go ahead, Elise.
No, sometimes I feel like I know there's changes that they're gonna be coming, like all the time. Like like truck drivers right now, I think they need truck drivers because like the new generation, they don't want to drive trucks. And I think I don't know if you were when you were little, you were like, oh my god, look at that truck. I wish I can drive a truck. Like oh my god, that's something cool to drive. But the new generation changes their mind or it's a different way of thinking. So one of the things that I'm scared of is thinking like an old man. How old men things like they're so close to changes and so close to new things because you have to kind of
Yeah,
adapt yourself to the new things that's coming up. So when you hear about like, oh, you got to be able to put a chip on your head, I'm like, sometimes like I close, I'm like, man, that's not gonna happen. But eventually, like, I don't know, my mom never thought she was when she was little that she was gonna probably FaceTime, be able to FaceTime with someone else. Like oh, I can just instead of going to somebody else's house just to talk on their phone, like have my own phone on my pocket, and I can not just be able just to talk, but just to FaceTime. So that was something like no, that is so far away, and it was kind of far away. Like it took a couple of years, like since she was little to nowadays. That was like 40, 50 years probably. So I don't want to close my way of thinking that how things are going to change and how people are going to like find a way to to adapt to this new system, because you start thinking like okay, there's not going to be no jobs, and you kind of start imagining how the world or how the city is going to look like, because eventually there's not going to be no truck drivers. It's got to be a different lane where package is going to be shipped to your house and to your neighbor without you even have to come out of your house. Like okay, we got to be able to have our food, everything we need, but there's a way that things would have to get to the door in our house, right? Food and things like that. And how would that system be? Like are we gonna go to a place where we gotta go pick it up, or is it gonna come straight back to our door, done by a robot? Like I don't want to close my mind saying like, okay, that's so far away. Maybe in 50 years from now, how would I be in 50 years from now? 80 something. And I just can't imagine how that would be.
I
Like
mean,
I
so that's a good point though, right? So it's not just the jobs. It's also okay, let's say everyone goes from, working menial jobs to like having all the knowledge in the world and just having no cares in the world and just getting money handed to them, right? What's that economic system going to look like? Like, how is it going to be the government that's handing out a certain stipend, like in communist countries?
right.
Uh, I mean,
That's that's what doesn't really compute because two things would happen: either a few elites would have in complete control of all this technology, or somehow like the internet where it was like really hard to even contain it, everyone starts having access to unlimited knowledge, and it's gonna, I mean, at that point, like the current economics wouldn't be necessary, is what I would assume, right? So like right now, the main reason we have an economic structure is just so that we can exchange resources for goods, right? Like services for goods, and everybody. That's how we exchange the amount, assuming that there's a limited amount and someone has to do the dirty jobs, right? But if you
mhm.
take the idea of having to do the jobs, right? So no one has to work the fields because we figure out a machine that does it. No one has to drive the trucks. There's a machine that does it. No one has to man the cashiers or distribute the food or anything. Like, obviously, this is kind of a crazy idea, but think about like every little job could be fulfilled by a machine. On top of that, we have level access to information. Then there's no need for an economy. That would be like the perfect. There wouldn't be people with. I guess the real question is like, how would a human have additional resources or like would accumulate more than you? That would be almost impossible.
so the machines will be
Well,
having a better life than
I,
us. We'll be doing shit. They will be doing all the work. It's like, okay, what I'm here for? Which, okay, I gotta go, play on the park with my kids.
That's
Okay, I gotta
well,
go to
but
vacation. Okay, and what are
but
you
here's my
here for?
here's my question. Here's my question. So like, assuming that's right, assuming that we don't need an economy anymore, I mean, think about what the implications of that, right? Because there's still a there's still finite resources such as food, right? Such as water, such as gasoline, fossil fuels, and presumably we'll have another fuel source by that point. But I mean, as it stands right now, gasoline's a finite resource. So, but you have all
The
and like
economy,
and
if I
even
understand correctly, the economy is what keeps it available to certain peoples and not. It sort of keeps it level, right? The economy, like the your access to money
but
is
but think
equates the
about it.
access to those resources, right?
But think about it. So let's say that all the money goes away. You want food,
Okay.
right? How much food are you gonna get?
So
Yeah, I don't know.
the artificial
And,
So
intelligence will tell you
so
exactly how much you need and how much you're supposed to eat.
yeah, that's
You
like
you cannot
that's my
add two
question, right?
scoops. You cannot add 2 scoops of sugar. You only allow 1 scoop of sugar. You know, things like that.
so
That's
the
exactly my
economy
question.
in a way is what limits us from a human brain that would just accumulate as much as possible, which is true, right? Like we're bound by our money, right? Like if I had unlimited resources, I would have a humongous fucking castle, and I would have
You-
all the food in the world. Yeah,
You'd have
like
a wine cave. You'd have like all this beer, like
yeah,
a mountain of beer. You know.
I know, but I mean,
Uh,
I guess is I just so why would you think it would happen if all the jobs in the world could be fulfilled by a machine? A servant. So like we figure it out, we crack the code, and we have a servant robot for any job you can think of. How is that a bad thing? I don't understand how we cannot make that work for
I,
ourselves.
I don't know if it's a bad thing. I do know how it could cause a lot of problems, not just on the economy front, but from like world relations and even warfare. You see all these pressures going on right now. There's massive tensions just from the coronavirus. Um, and then you have migration. That's been a huge hot button issue for the past 10, 20 years. So if you put that in the context of like the pressures of people losing their jobs because of automation, I think we would enter another world war easily.
Yeah, as long as the economy is a problem, right? But like the problem with an economy or somebody losing the job is losing access to resources. But what we're talking about, in my opinion, is losing a job but continue to have access to resources. That's the difference. That's where like universal incomes come in. That's where like yeah, more communist
But
ideas come in, and they would have to be worked out. But that's what I mean. Like we're losing jobs not because we don't have access. We're losing jobs because we found a way to still get the resources without doing the job. That's what I feel like it shouldn't be a bad thing. And somehow it is because you're right, like there's a lot of people making money out of this, and that's what, but eventually it's going to be like the internet. There's not going to be a way to stop it. We're going to figure out a way to have cars drive themselves. That's going to
okay,
happen.
so let's say you have Donald Trump, right?
Who's
And
that? Okay,
Donald Trump
okay.
has hundreds of millions, potentially billions, although I doubt it, of dollars. Do you think he's gonna willingly give that up to go to like a basic $1,000 a month income? So I guess my question is, who's gonna determine what everyone gets?
Right, that's the thing. In my perfect utopia, there would be enough money for you to live your life. So that means you have enough to have a place to live and enough food to eat, and just have the basic necessities. And you still have the ability to be creative and resourceful to go above and beyond that, but you shouldn't have to worry about like the basic necessities. In my idea of this working out.
But
It
you're not talking about a utopia though. You're talking
No.
about this is definitely gonna happen in the next
Well, what's
however
gonna
many years.
happen? It's what I think is most likely to happen is some of those robots are gonna be available, and people with a lot of money are going to use them to save more money because they're going to stop paying humans to do it when they can have a machine do it, and it's going to create a huge issue with the economy because the jobs are going to get done, and people are just going to get fired.
Yeah.
That's what's actually going to happen, and the only intervention can be done through government intervention. But that's a huge topic, a huge problem with people that are trying to make a shit ton of money. Because as long as we have this idea that more means better, when we have, I mean, like I mean, like Walmart is gonna fucking fire people so they can have a machine do whatever the fuck somebody's already doing, and they're already fucking rich as hell. I mean, I don't know, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I was just thinking, what bothers me is that somebody that is broke would reject this idea. That bothers the fuck out of me. Like if you are broke and you are on the short of the stick, why do you have a problem with the idea of leveling the playing field? It's almost like because we were brainwashed where we have like almost like this slave mentality. We all do. We think that we have to work. The only way that we're worth a damn or that we are going to make something is by working really hard. And I'm not trying to advocate that you shouldn't work hard. It's just that you should work hard on things. We could be working hard on things that we're passionate about and things that we like and things that we want to do. We shouldn't have to work hard on like fucking pushing paperworks and making people's houses and shit like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm definitely getting a chip in my brain as soon as I can.
Man, having imagine having artificial intelligence in your brain, like all the conclusion that you trying to come up with and solutions, it already comes up by itself because it would connect the dots together, how it would work, how things would have to happen. So there won't be no need for you to be thinking so much if you have that on your brain.
Yeah, that's exactly what Elon Musk was saying is that whole complex idea, that idea that it's probably not that complex, but very hard for me to express. It would have just gone like this, and everything I just said over the past hour, you would have gone like that. Boom, done.
So it will be
Like in
just
1 second,
information.
everything, all that mumbo jumbo, you would have understood exactly what I meant, and I wouldn't have struggled to do it, because a computer is going to process information. I don't know what the rate was. He said it on the thing, like way faster. Like we have a different ability to process information, but as far as the amount and the speed, it's way more what the computer can do.
Of course, of course.
Um,
And the way you can save stuff on your phone is way better than you can save it on your brain. Like if
Hmm.
you're talking about artificial intelligence, okay, what you just said, like we have artificial intelligence on our phone. Oh, that's like a
in
part
a way,
of
we
the,
do.
like
Yeah.
on our hands. But you
So
have that, and at the same time, it makes you a little bit more dumber, even though you're more intelligent on your hand than you're in your freaking head. Because like people used to know how to get to places without using their phone. Now without their phone, they don't know how to get to places. So
right.
are we will be getting smarter or dumber?
Well, when the technology is implanted in us, then I mean, yeah, that the
So imagine the
biological
the
brain will
chip
probably become
fails.
weaker and weaker. Yeah, that's a good
So
point. The biological part of the brain would become weaker and weaker over generations because it would be less necessary.
so
I
you
don't know.
start
I don't know what that would do.
so you wouldn't have to start thinking of yourself, like you don't have to work or even worry about thinking because everything is already set up for you. You
It
never
would. I
work.
would think that the speed of things would change. Like all the interactions that it would take us to get to a certain point, it would take less time. Like if it takes me right now, it takes me 20 hours to convince you of an idea, but then we can connect each other in our brains and have those arguments in a millisecond, then it would be that much quicker to come to that conclusion.
We haven't even
Think about
figured out.
that.
Look, we haven't even figured out how they made the pyramids. How about that?
Man. That's a good one. How the fuck did they do that? It was fucking ridiculous.
You wanna put a chip on your brain that will probably explain you how they did it.
I don't know. I don't know what where you go from there.
Like we haven't even figured that out. Like we haven't figured out so much stuff that ancestor that didn't even have a freaking computer or something. And they did it. I
Yeah, they
don't know.
don't know
I
how
don't
they
know.
put
I
those
don't know.
rocks up there, right?
I don't know. Like they say, it's a huge piece in the middle. Like they should like have figured out how to put that huge piece of rock in the middle before they even build the whole thing around it. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's crazy.
It's the fucking aliens, bro. The aliens
I'm
did it.
pretty sure it was aliens, man. I'm pretty sure it was aliens. And now they're real, man. They come out with a video saying that I don't know, what's it? I don't know. The government saying that they are real. They release some footage and things like that. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
I saw a couple podcasts about this, and I talked about it before in our podcast about that whole Area 51 and that pilot from the Air Force that seen stuff and
Oh, this is a whole new
the sign.
thing. This is a whole new thing that the government actually released some videos of flying objects that they don't know what it is. That well, they think there's aliens or ovnis in this case.
UFOs. Yeah.
I
Do
just
you?
read an article today that said that they actually think it's a new like flight like missile avoidance system that they're installing in these jets where it like basically spurts off all these different flares everywhere and they show up on radar as ships. So it's I don't know, it's pretty interesting, but yeah, I mean there's definitely been sightings or whatever you want to call it, at least on radar. So
Well, dude, they had this dude that was a U.S. Air Force colonel or some like higher ranking person with no dogs in the fight. Like he's not making money out of aliens or anything like that. And they had him on the podcast, and he said, "Yeah, there was a time that I was doing some flights, and this is not only one. There's a lot of Air Force like pilots that would do the same thing where they say like, oh yeah, we saw some shit that was weird." So I don't
yeah.
know what this guy's motivation would be to do that. And then there was the one guy that supposedly was recruited in Colorado to work on the spaceships, and he talks about having access to them and like that they work with this like anti-gravitational thing that we don't even understand how it works, and that's how they can move that way.
Man, I saw the podcast.
But
I think he was an astronaut, and he said like he feels like he saw like they were watching him all the time, like what they were doing. And I think he was in Joe Rogan telling that experience. Like he the whole time he feels like he was being observed by a different, like an object, like very far away, like he was moving and things like that. You didn't see it?
and
You didn't see,
The Air Force pilot guy, I think that's what you're talking about.
yeah, but he
Yeah,
was
I think it was
actually.
I don't know. I don't know. I think there's definitely aliens. I don't know if they're visited Earth or if they're more advanced than we are. But I mean, I guess some of the shit that you hear is like, what would be funny if it's like actually aliens in like 50 years from now, or like look at all the reasons why we did not want to believe, like all the excuses we came out with, like, oh no, that wasn't it, that was something else, but it was actually aliens. You know what? Tucci could be an alien and he's defending them, dude. He's like trying to keep cover. That's
This
what
is
it is.
oh, like I'm the best looking alien you've ever seen in your life, man.
You look, I mean, that's what aliens would do. They would make themselves look good.
Absolutely.
But they would be acting kind of weird, anyways. And you know what? An alien would be a lawyer for sure. That would be the profession an alien would fit, because they would want to
Man,
understand human law.
man, you.
Is
Hey,
that what they want to understand? You really think aliens give a shit about like the common law and statutes? I promise you they don't. I
Yeah, it would
promise
be
you.
like kind of like a sociological experience for them, like being like a researcher. Like let's experiment with their laws.
Or they could just be like, actually, we just want to harvest all of these like resources and kill everybody. You know, we don't give a
I
shit
hope
about
not.
anything about these little space freaks.
Do you think that would suck? Like
It'd be just like the day after tomorrow. You know.
what the fuck happened to the dinosaurs? Hmm? The aliens fucking ate them all. for protein. That's what happened. I mean, the pyramids got there for aliens. The dinosaurs got killed by aliens. Dude, it's all fucked up. The whole thing is fucked up. We could be a
Well,
mixture of aliens and monkeys right now.
So one of the things on the podcast was saying like one of the astronauts was there for 6 months or something like that. He was there for a long time. And once that you're in space, I think you stop using like muscles and things like that, so your body kind of changes a little bit. So imagine how would you be if you don't have to work, if you don't have to do absolutely no movement. Like, oh, I don't have to, like move anything. Everything's already like set up. Everything's already there. Like our body will literally change, man.
I
And we
think that we
definitely
would
gonna
do
start looking like
workout.
aliens, skinny with a big ass head. Because we have so much information, we're just skinny like aliens.
I think we would work out anyways. As a like we make campfires and we burn s'mores even though there's no actual purpose for them, and people already exercise for the fuck of it. I mean, what you're describing is already happening. We don't have to use our bodies to survive, so we kind of just we exercise to stay in shape, but not for necessity.
You
And a lot
definitely
of the
been
jobs that we
exercising to stay in shape, man. Are
me,
you are you been exercising to stay in shape on the
man,
quarantine?
why are you fucking trying to bring me down right now, dude?
Just kidding. You have?
I
Or
have
no?
been exercising and I have been biking.
Oh, good.
Believe
I
it or
only see
not.
your face, man.
But
So I don't know. I'm just guessing you haven't,
we
but
say
you
my
have.
face looks fat. How about this? Look at this.
I didn't say your face
Yeah,
was
we
fat.
we we did the whole 7 weeks of insanity. Damn, look at this. She
Was
looking
it good?
swole as fuck. Yeah, no, it was a T20, and then I'm biking every day, but we stopped after that because couldn't figure it out. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to stay in shape nowadays, man, especially as you get older.
Hey, Martin.
We can
I
all look like Brazilian painters. We can all look like that.
how do you feel about going back to normal life right now? Like
It's not gonna
stage one is like out there already. I don't know when we're gonna be going to stage two, where like markets are open and retail stores will open. How do you feel about that? Like when are
It's
you
gonna
gonna
take a
come
while.
out? When are you
I
gonna come
think it's
out your
gonna take a
house?
lot longer. I already went to Lowe's once.
Oh shit!
Um,
and you got
I
your
think
your house power washed
I
today.
got my
That was
house power
risky.
washed today, and it was a fucking huge mess.
How
But
do you interact with this guy power washing your house? How do you pay him? By cash, Venmo?
I didn't touch the guy. He came over to my house, and I was like,
Do you open
I,
your
I'm
door and you left the storm window closed, the storm door closed, and you're like,
I definitely went outside and talked to him. I mean, I've gotten a little bit more. Here's what's gonna happen is we wanted to. The whole point of quarantine is to reduce the bell curve, whatever. Which at this point, I'd be interested to see what the hospitals are looking like because we're not gonna keep people from getting this. We're gonna only the only thing we could do is get this at a slower rate, right? So releasing people into society could make that bell curve go higher again. That's what we don't want. We don't want a lot of people sick at the
I
same
know, I
time.
know, I know.
So I mean,
So are you
going
gonna be
back
going
into
out or
different
no?
spaces. No, I'm not. I'm gonna be the last one. I mean, I'll probably be a little bit more adventurous, but I'm not going to TJ Maxx and I'm not going to the grocery store unless I have to. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not gonna be the first one out there because what could go wrong is that there's another spike. And if there's gonna be another spike, it's if you are there doing that kind of stupid shit. You see what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Eventually, I think it's gonna it's gonna be dragged on longer than people understand. And then
Yeah, you think?
businesses and oh yeah, I think it's gonna be to the end of the year. Personally, I think that we're gonna see people go back, and then there's gonna be another spike, and then we're gonna regress and say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, people are gonna start thinking deads over economical problems. They're gonna just start like saying it's part of what it is, you know.
So this
I
is
mean,
what I
I
think is
also
gonna happen on the next days. Like like everything's gonna go back to normal. Everything's gonna go back to normal. Everything's gonna open again, and the governor is just gonna come out with something saying like, "Oh, it wasn't as serious, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was, it wasn't as deadly as we thought it was." So everything, like all the things that they did, it was just a huge mistake. Oh, it wasn't a mistake. It was something they did on purpose in order to take advantage of the situation, because there is so much stuff that we don't know, like what they have done, something like this to the whole world. Like I'm pretty sure there's something behind that we don't understand. So I'm pretty sure everything is gonna go back to normal after we all go home now. After stage one opens, stage two opens, and after that, like everything's gonna go back to normal. The other thing I was thinking was like, like my sister, she was through high school and she needed to study 9/11. Like it's on the books now. I think it started like back in 2000. I think it was 15 or 11, 2011. I think where what happened on the towers, it was on the books and people needed to learn about it. We didn't learn about it on high school because it happened like a couple years before, so we kind of lived the whole situation. But there's people that when it happened, they didn't study this. Would this be on the books, man? Would this pandemic thing would be as something that people will have to learn from, like what we went through and things like that? What do you think?
Absolutely, it'll definitely be. This is a historical event.
Yeah.
This is a.
Yeah.
This is not the first time a pandemic has happened. This is normal for humans. It's just not normal for us, I think. But it's definitely gonna be a. It's definitely gonna be in the history books for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna be talking about this to our kids, and well, we survived into 2020, and there might have been like new studies or like, oh, we should have done this or we should have done that. Uh,
Man, the
but it's
same way
definitely
that
gonna.
probably your dad asked your grandpa about like how was World War II and things like that. How was that moment?
Right.
How was those days? And then
Except
you
that
have and
this has been not as tasking. Like no one's. I mean, unless you're affected by it, I'm not really in the trenches here at home. I'm pretty comfortable. The most annoying thing is I can't leave the house and whatever, and I can see my friends and I can. But like it's kind of more of a mental fuck than an actual like problem. Like I'm not like getting attacked or like starving or not having access to something.
yeah, it's not as bad as
It's not like as cool as World War One, where like, hey, how many
yeah,
people
yeah,
did you
yeah, yeah.
kill, or did you avoid a bomb? No, it was just like, well, yeah, dude, I couldn't get a fucking haircut for 3 months. That was a real pain in the ass. Or like, but I mean,
What's
we don't know. It could keep. This could go for a year, and then we'll be fucking 69 in each other.
Well, I think, it's definitely going to last a while, but I think it's going to go through phases where we open back up and then things get kind of squirrely, so we have to close back down again. So I think it's just we're going to have to go through phases like that until maybe, hopefully there's a vaccine, or, two, we just figure out a way to deal with it.
Well, the
Um,
other thing is like I think China, they're already open everything. Everything is back to normal over there. That's what they said. I don't know. That's what I hear. So I'm pretty sure
well,
like they did this the quarantine. They did it way before we did it. They started like sooner than us. So everything that happened in China happened in the US later. Like we just took longer to do it just because they didn't make the decision as quick as they did over there. So right now in China, they've been out of quarantine for a couple weeks now, and they haven't saying that they're going back to quarantine. So I feel like the same story or the same picture repeats here in the U.S. So the same thing that happened over there probably is gonna like happen here too. So if they open over there and everything is good after a couple weeks, so the same thing is gonna kind of happen here, and
well,
everybody's
so
gonna
there's a couple of differences, right? So in China, they completely shut down the entire city of Wuhan, and like that was no one was allowed to go anywhere, and so they waited until there was no more detectable cases of coronavirus to open back up. And actually, they have just recently discovered several cases in Wuhan, so they're that they're saying it's like a resurgence of types. But with the United States, we never waited, right? So there's still tons of cases out there, tons of people dying still, and we're already beginning to reopen. So that's only, I think, going to get worse as more people interact with each other. And I just don't think the medical system is going to be able to accommodate all those sick people. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but obviously, if there's already a huge strain on the medical system when people are staying at home, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when things open back up, you know?
Yeah.
That's true. Or
Yeah.
somehow we luck out in the fact that we were more exposed to it, actually help us, and
No, I think they're gonna come
more
up with
people than we
something
think have
saying
it.
that it's not as
Even
deadly as they say it is. Because they were
what I
saying a
think that
bunch like more people die of, I don't know, sugar than this.
yeah,
More
I
people
think that
died
that the
of
only way we're gonna
diabetic or
know
this.
that the only way we're gonna know that is if we come up with a way of mass testing people. And I don't know why they're not testing everyone. Like, I mean, I guess is because that's the key, right? If we could test for who's already had it, and then yeah, and if a lot of people already actually have it, then it's less deadly than you think, right? If more people actually have had it and then even show symptoms, then it's not as deadly as you think. And then we just worry about like the older population. But like, why are we not mass testing? I think it's because they don't want that on the record. It's like, oh, they had so many in the United States. They don't want to be known as that.
No,
Well,
there's no.
Trump doesn't, that's for sure.
Maybe they don't have
Yeah, like
enough
it,
testers. Like, how do
they
you
don't want
test
to be
that?
like because they need to test. Dude, I don't know why we're not like we're like I feel like that should be the focus. Like, let's just fucking test everyone. Like, see who's had it. Like, people are showing symptoms, people who are not showing symptoms. Like, let's fucking figure out who has it, and then we can better assess if we know who has it. If we're like mass testing everyone, then we can
So
start
you think
taking precautions. Like, oh, this motherfucker's put them over here.
so if you think like there's a bunch of more people that has it, but they haven't died, so the percentage
The
of
mortality
death
rate would be way lower. Yeah,
way lower. So I think the
then
government
it
will
wouldn't
just
be as
look
bad as you think.
foolish, just for doing what they did without even doing what they did. You know, just because they acted scared at the moment. You know, they were just scared about it, and they were like, okay, let's do this way. Like
Well,
let's
there was no
cut
other
everything
choice. I
down.
mean, it was more a reaction. But I'm saying right now, why are we not testing? I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works. But to me, like what would make sense is like I want to find out. I want to know if I had it. I want to know if you have it. I want to know if Tucci has. Because if I here's the other thing, like socially too, like if I know Tucci got tested and you got tested and all of you guys show negative,
You definitely
then
come
I'll go
over
over to
to
your
studio
house.
house.
Right, then we could start hanging out again, right? Um, but then I would, but like you would know, like, oh, I've been hanging out with, whatever, and he has it. So then you would be able to make a better assessment of what's going on. I don't know. That would make sense to me, but I don't know. On that note, guys, we've been at it at an hour, so you guys have any closing statements before we end the podcast?
Yeah, man. So get ready, guys. Inception is coming. You're going to have microchips implanted in your brain. Elon
Nice.
Musk is going to be the ruler of the world. We're going to have airline pilots flying around discovering all these aliens.
Yep,
Mm,
that's
and the
already happening.
and the coronavirus, apparently it was all a hoax. So
The life that we live. Elias,
Chuchi
what do you
said it.
got? You got
Chuchi
anything?
said it all, man. Chuchi said it all, man.
On that, yeah. I mean, on that note, um, I am looking forward to listening to this 9 episodes that we had, because and potentially another 10 to come when we are 50 years old. I want to hit play and I want to listen to this shit because this is gonna be weird shit. Like knowing what we know now, and just hearing ourselves
Eh,
talk about this experience is gonna be
Imagine,
insane.
imagine Nella doing like a school project, and she's like, "Oh, my daddy did
Uh,
something during this time. Let me show you the video they did."
I am really gonna wish I talked less about Dick and we and talked and not said so many different things.
And
But
the
yeah,
other
no,
thing,
I
man,
definitely
remember the first podcast we did? I was like, "Let me say a prophecy," and I said prophecy like everything's gonna go back to normal in 6 months. And man, hopefully that
yeah.
prophecy comes real, man. We're so close for it, man.
Is it how long has it been? I can't even.
Three
How many is
months,
9 weeks?
3 months.
Yeah, I think that we'll deal with this in some form till the end of the year at least, if not more. And certain things will never go back to normal.
Yeah.
But
No,
that's
I
that's
I agree with that.
I think that we are doing better than we think we are. And yeah, I mean, the distrust from government and what is being said to us adds to it too. Like, like are we being lied to, or all that shit. That's the other thing. But ideally we're not. We're not being lied, and this is all done for a reason, and we saved a lot of lives doing it. I hope. But on that positive note, let's get the fuck out of here, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye
Deuces.
bye.